Hey everyone, welcome to FernyTalk. My name is Ferny. I am your resident psychic medium. And on this show, we are going to talk about psychic phenomena, spirituality, and whatever the hell else I feel like talking about. So on today's show, we have special guest Ingrid Karazincir. And we'll get to her in a few moments. Before we begin, I do want to go over the premise of the show. So what we're going to do first is I do want to let you guys know that any psychic readings you receive on the show, please remember that we are not licensed medical practitioners. We're not doctors. We are not we're not emotional or spirit. We're not counselors, okay? We're like not psychiatrists or psychologists. We're not lawyers. We're not police officers. So if you need like professional help, then ask the professionals. We are the psychics, the mediums. We are the intuitives and the sensitives. So if you have questions, then please post them in the comments section below. And at some point, we are going to get to your questions. I want to talk to you guys about what I did this week. So actually, what I did this weekend, I was at a cousin's house and we had a pumpkin carving party, and we do it once a year. It's one of the things that we do on a regular basis. I love it. It's a lot of fun. Every year, it's like a different pumpkin. And this year, I'll show you guys. This year, I carved an alien. I hope you can see it, but I carved an alien. And so you kind of have to like bend downwards a little bit so that you can see it. But lots of fun. And then they had like a whole spread there, tons of food there. So that was a lot of fun. I picked out, I think I gained like 5 pounds doing this. So, so guys, if you have questions, if you want to ask us a psychic question, whether it's a psychic about your life, or whether you want to ask us a spiritually based question, whatever you want to ask us, go ahead and type it in the comment section below, and then we will get to a point towards the end of our program where we will spend some time answering your questions. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Ingrid. So let me bring Ingrid on right here. There you go. Ingrid, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, great. I can hear you perfectly. Excellent. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm like excited. This is like the first time I've ever used any of this technology. Ingrid has her own show. She has her own series that she has been working very diligently at. It's called PIP, which is what it called?
Impact.
Thank you.
Positive Impact Project.
Positive Impact Project. And we will give you more details about where you can tune in to her series. But essentially, she has guests on the program like this, except they're in person. But she lives like in the boondocks compared to where I'm at. I'm like in the inner city. She's like way out there. And I'm like, I don't want her to have to drive all the way in here during traffic hours. I'm like, let's try this online format because it'll make it a lot easier so that we can connect more often on a regular basis, right? So how's your day going?
So far, so good. This is really fun. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yes, of course. You knew you had to be my first guest because I was like, okay, if I'm gonna screw anything up, I want to screw it up with Ingrid in the picture.
Well, last time I saw you, we had just gone through a haunted jail together.
Yes. And so I want to talk more about that because I think people got to see us when we were there. They got to see us when we were like in the moment, tuning in and sensing all of these things. And people got to see each of our stories, like from our perspectives. And when I was watching your video and your version of what happened on your end, there were so many questions I had for you. Like, wait a minute, what are you feeling here? Like, what do you feel? So I'm like, okay, I want to ask you some of these important questions. So what did you think about the whole experience going to the haunted jail?
Okay, so, I really thought it was a good experience for the audience. One thing that I think, clients have always come to me with similar things that happen to them, whether they're seeing something in their house or they're hearing noises like that. So what we did really going in there was going through the experience ourselves in front of everybody, So I think a lot of people could relate to what we were doing. One thing I did do is kind of let down my energy guard, and I just wanted to fully experience everything. So I did end up having a couple times those beings came into my body, which is something that, I'm pretty good at doing trance channeling. So letting them in was pretty easy. But there were a few unsettling moments, and it's, you go through a range of emotions. But afterwards, I I hope everybody understood, you just clear all that stuff out and that you do have control over it.
Yeah. Well, and for people who aren't used to like trance channeling and who are used to like merging with spirits like that, you hear about all these people, on television or their personal stories where they have these encounters with beings and they feel like they're invaded or they're possessed or they're taken over by these kinds of entities. Can you kind of give a little description about the process or what you tend to feel or sense when you're going through that merging or when you're feeling that impact from the spirit?
Definitely. So the first time I was in the hallway and I basically asked for them to come. I said, any beings that are in here that want to come around me, that's fine. And I suddenly felt these two guys and I saw their faces come right up into my face, like, hey, like they were excited about coming in. And I told them just to hold on a second. And then I basically let one of them shift into my body. Mm-hmm. When that happens, what I do is partly shift out of my body and allow them to come in. So it's almost like I'm kind of watching and not in control of my body. But what I feel is their presence and who they are completely, like who that person is, and see, their memories and things that make them who they are.
Yeah.
And then he started using my body like, wow, this is so cool. And I kind of started swaying because he was just like excited.
Right.
And I let him do that for about a minute. And then I'm like, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
But it was, it's one of those things that it can be enjoyable. And that's why most of my classes and stuff, we do angel channeling. And I ask angels to come in. It's a lot more pleasant. Yeah.
Well, I think intention is important if you're going to deal with any, and I'm always telling, my students, I say, if you're going to deal with this kind of energy, you need to have very clear intention. And there's a reason why most of the stories you hear on television, all of a sudden someone played with the Ouija board and then just shit stirred up in their house and they're like, what is going on? And it's because their intention wasn't clear when they began the process. I think if people had a very clear intention, if they had a really good idea for what they were doing that with, and they were very empowered in the process, then they wouldn't have all these extra, curricular ghosts coming around trying to get in on what just happened because they opened the door just an inch.
Exactly. And it is important to understand the power that you have. Yeah. And I think that beyond anything else, most people don't realize that they do have control and they can say yes or no.
Right.
To anybody, not just, I feel like it works on all levels. A lot of people in this world don't know they can say no, that they think they have to be polite or do more than they really want to do. And that is seen through how people interact with these ghosts.
So for some of you who don't know who Ingrid is, she is also a psychic medium and she operates out of the Houston area, but she's originally from California and she spent quite a bit of time in California. And so can you share some of your growing up pains as far as being a psychic medium? Because I know we've talked personally one-on-one and you talked about how this was kind of a scary thing for you to go through. And what was that like for you?
So growing up with disability was definitely not easy. I was, from a very early age, able to see and sense beings that were in the room that were not physical. And it was very scary. And sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night paralyzed in my bed. I couldn't move. And later I realized that's what happens when certain beings are in the room. Their energy actually is so strong, so powerful as far as being from another dimension, that it can make our dimension slow down, meaning that we aren't able to move. But of course, I was eventually able to move and go run down the hall to my parents. But I grew up like that, where I was very afraid of my gift until my teenage years. My mother actually, she did meditation and went into Reiki healing. Well, she put me through a Reiki mastership through high school and college. I basically learned about energy and how to use it. And at that point, I took control of my gift.
So you had mentioned before that you didn't choose this path. Your mom kind of pushed you or thrust you into this direction. Now, there are a lot of people who want to choose this path. And when they're choosing this path, they're so desperate and they're so like whatever I can sense, whatever I can sense, whatever I can sense. Do you have any tips or advice for people who are trying to develop and who are just a little too open, what they can do to maybe protect themselves, or how they can approach developing their psychic ability without opening up to some of the negative experiences? Because I know my first experiences as a psychic were on the negative spectrum. And I've heard from a lot of psychics and mediums, their first experiences were kind of on the negative spectrum. So do you think there are some tips that maybe you can give out to those who want to develop?
Definitely. And just to say that, the world is changing, and because so many more people are awakening, hopefully the next generation and the generation after that won't have to go through the same growing pains. But the growing pains are basically, parents being afraid and saying, no, that's bad.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a scary experience.
Yeah.
But if you have a parent saying, oh, this is what that is, and it's perfectly normal, then we're fine. So that's what I do for adults that are in this place of awakening. I say, you know what, this is normal. This is just your sixth sense. It's another sense. And we have it as children. We're born with it. But because so many people don't understand it, it becomes a fear and we shut it down. Yeah. So I'm glad there's a lot of people awakening. And one thing that I suggest is laying a foundation, and that is learning about energy. So taking a Reiki class, going to a Reiki share, finding out more about how your energy works, and learning how to heal so that you become more empowered. And also making sure that you create a doorway. So what I do is like a bubble with a door on it, and say, I'm only going to open that door when I want to channel, when I want to talk to someone on the other side. Other than that, you got to keep that door shut. Right. Because it's just like being in your house and leaving your front door wide open for anybody to wander in. You don't want to do that psychically either. So
you have two daughters yourself, and tell me about some of the struggles they've dealt with, because I think psychic ability doesn't really skip a generation. Each person that comes in, each generation is a little stronger, I think, and each person that is born after a sensitive person is just even more sensitive. So are there things that you've been able to help them with on their own personal journey as far as developing that you yourself didn't understand when you were going through that process?
Definitely. They have kind of grown up around me doing this work, but also I have gotten them more involved over the years. And I do psychic games, and I do suggest this for anybody with kids. Right. It's a lot of fun. One thing is really easy and kids enjoy is remote viewing exercises. So what I do is actually give them or have one of them pick a toy, something colorful or small, and I have them go hide it, show it everybody first, and then hide it in a room, not too well at first. And then we all go in there and we try to find it. Right. And I talk them through the process of feel your way there, or see if you can picture the item. See if you can feel the person putting the item in something high or low. And my kids always find it. Yeah. But they have different processes. I learned from watching them and working with them that one is more clairvoyant, very visual, and the other is empathic and very feeling oriented.
So you teach classes, and I think I want people to know, like, what is it that you currently offer services? Because there's a lot of people who want to know how to do this. They want to know how to develop their psychic abilities, and they want to know about what you offer. So can you give a little bit about what you do right now? First of all, like, you do readings, readings on a regular basis, but also what other offerings do you have?
So yeah, I would say that my work is really more focused around teaching, though I do personal sessions. My classes, pretty much every month I have something going on, whether it's psychic development, like level 1, 2, or 3, angel channeling. There's all these different things that I teach, and I like to kind of vary it each month. What you can do is either find me readingsbyingrid.com. You can go on there and see my classes that I have each month. And I also do one-on-one, and that's very popular. I've had a lot of people through the years that do it by phone or Skype, and I just do weekly calls with them, and we work on different aspects of psychic development, to help them develop from their own home.
Right. So the first time that I ever met you, and people don't know, and FYI guys, if you want to ask a psychic question, go ahead and type it in the comment section below. Make sure you're specific. No general questions like shouldn't I or should I? Like really, like I'm not a mind reader, honey. Like you need to ask me a specific question. So ask some specific questions. Try to keep it shorter so that way we can go ahead and use it. But we will try to get to you as soon as possible, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But the first time I met Ingrid was at a psychic meetup. And when I walked in there, she was this like bald-headed woman at that time because she didn't have any hair. She was pulling like a Britney. And so I walked in and I'm like, who is this lady with the wonderful scars? And I sat down and I felt so comfortable and I felt so like, okay, I don't feel out of my like realm. I feel comfortable. I feel like it's okay to be here. And I kept going back every week or every month that you had to share. I kept going back and kept going back and kept going back to the point where then you ended up going back to California for a short period of time before you came back. But I loved your meetups. Do you still do meetups or shares in that way?
I do. I the Houston Psychic Circle is on meetup.com. And it has basically everything that the events I'm doing, the classes, and I do a lot of free events. I actually have a free event coming up for Halloween, and that is actually on Saturday at 4 p.m. at Centerpoint, which is 2727 Fondren Road in Houston. And that's going to be group readings. Basically, I'm going to channel the other side. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give people information to answer questions. And it's a really fun setting. And that's at Centerpoint, which is also called Metaphysical Matrix.
Cool. So you ready to do some readings?
I would love that. Do we have some volunteers? I
do. Okay, so let me go through here. Now, guys, if you have a mediumship question, we aren't doing any mediumship questions today. We are only doing psychic readings. So if you have a question about your life that you want to know in particular, whether it's your career, your health, whatever, go ahead and ask a specific question, and I will try to get to you as soon as possible. So let us start here with, I've got a long one. Let's see if this will show up here. Whoa, okay, so we've got Intuitive Sherry here. So Sherry has a question. So let me read this to you. So love you both. So I have a question. For the last few months, I've seen a butterfly at least once a day or butterflies every day without fail. Doesn't matter where I'm at least one or several butterflies will cross my path throughout the day. I feel this is a spiritual thing. So are the butterflies my spirit guides communicating with me, or the universe, or both? Is the message is the message the message that I'm on the right path, or is that about to blossom in my abilities? What do you guys pick up on? I'm just curious. So it's funny because I almost feel like she answers her own question, but go ahead.
She's intuitive.
I know, right? She's intuitive, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry, for sending your question in, and thanks for watching. So first of all, the butterfly symbolizes, from my understanding, normally the transformation, and that's probably what you're talking about, is the idea of blossoming, of stepping into your power. Mm-hmm. For you in particular, I feel like it's a reminder that you are already where you need to be, that you're not the caterpillar, you're in the butterfly state. And I think it keeps reminding you, you're already powerful. You already have all of the abilities that you need. You already have the skills that you need, and just be you. Do it. You don't have to go anywhere else. You're at the final stage. So it's a matter of just stepping into it and walking the walk.
Well, and that's a good point, because so many people, and it's almost as if she's trying to give herself permission. She just hasn't given herself permission to bloom, to get there yet. And so many people I find, it's like they're waiting. For years, it's my experience, I use it as an example. I, for years, would go to psychics and I would get a reading because I wanted them to give me permission to do this full time, or I wanted them to give me permission. I wanted the psychic to say, oh my God, Fernando, you are a psychic and a medium, and this is what you're supposed to do, and you are meant to do great things with this. Now do it. And for years, I walked around like, no one's telling me that I should be doing this. They would just say, oh, you're sensitive or whatever, but that's it. I'm like, really? So I can totally relate to that, because for years I did that myself. So it's as if people nowadays are waiting for someone to give them permission to like go into the thing that they want to do, that they're very passionate about, or that they feel very pulled to. What advice would you give someone like that?
So first off, I really feel like, yeah, most everybody that comes to me has some intuitive ability, and that's why they come to us, because, you know, they already believe. They know that this exists, that there's more to life than what people tell them. So I know that they already have some of that. But I feel like going to a psychic, going to someone like us, I feel like that's their first step. I feel like it's a way of them going, look, this person's doing it. You know, it's like wanting to have a successful business. You go and hang out with the CEO for a while and say, you know, how's he doing this?
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, just being around other people that are doing it and making it work is the first step.
Yeah. And I will say, Sherry, from my point of view, I think that you have a lot to offer. If you need permission, I give you permission, Sherry. Please go for it. But I think that you have a lot to offer, and it's just more about you kind of, you know, just grabbing life by the balls at this point and running with it. And I think you've got all the components there to progress forward with it. It's just a matter of you having faith. It's not about seeing the affirmations. The affirmations are going to come. They come all the time. I mean, I have affirmations all the time about the work that I'm supposed to do. I know Ingrid has plenty of them coming in on a regular basis, but it's about simply having faith and just moving forward in your passion and trusting that the universe is going to deliver and is going to align you with the right opportunities, with the right people, with the right circumstances to continue to allow you to blossom and to grow into the person that not only you think you are, but more importantly, who the universe believes you to be, to know you to be. So move forward in it and just, you know, to hell with everybody else. If someone has a problem with that, then whatever, you know? So we've got another question here. I've got one here from Yvette. And the question is it a good time to leave my job now?
Am I going first?
Yeah, you go first. Yeah, you're the guest. You can go first.
I don't want to step on your toes.
Oh, no, you're not stepping on my toes, girl. No, first of all, I wear closed-toed shoes. You can't step on
I don't. But yes, let me tune in that for a second. Okay, so the first thing that I'm hearing is that you need to, you're going to love to hear this, but you need to be patient. I feel like it's not time yet, but everything is going to fall into place naturally. So I don't feel like it's going to be abrupt, you know, I'm leaving. It's going to be more that there's going to be a time where everything just like, okay, this is the time. If you're asking the question, it means it's not right yet. Right. It means that there's still a little bit more that you need to do. And I do feel like there's something more that you need to do there. And I also feel like you have to make the transition in a way that's really smart so that no bridges are burned, because I really feel like you really need everything to be smooth at this point.
Right. Well, and you know, I will say that if you are wanting to leave your job, it means you're not happy and you want to get the hell out of there. And if that's how you feel, you need to work on those feelings like now, because if not, if you go into another job situation, you're going to carry all this crap with you. So you need to work on those things right now and try to make peace with your current situation. I'm not asking you to like love your job or to be like, oh my gosh, this is the best place ever. But I want you to make peace with your situation at the moment. It is what it is. You have to show up to work every day, do the job, and then that's it. And try to just apply yourself to the least you can give. Don't be sour about it. Don't be rotten about it. Don't put any negative energy into your work situation. If there's negative energy that's there, then let it come from the people around you there and not from you. Don't add to the environment, because you're going to create a loop of energy. And when you go into a new job, you're going to carry that energy with you. And I've seen this time and time again where people are not happy with their jobs. They want something else, and they take that energy. They go into a new job thinking, oh my God, everything's going to miraculously be better. And then stuff starts to happen there that was very similar to what they dealt with in the past job situation. And I also will say that I do see a change in about 2.5 months. It happens right before, I almost feel like right before Christmas. There's something that comes up that you could potentially use as a bridge to go into something else. I will say that I think it's, you hear about this through someone that you know. So someone that you know may tell you about this or may make you aware of this opportunity. But this might come up right before the holidays. And of course, next year going into the new year is when you may actually go for it. So I'm seeing something in about 2.5 years in that time. So
months, 2.5 months.
Yeah, 2.5. Yeah, did I say 2.5 years? Oh my gosh, 2.5 months, girl. No, I'm sorry. You do not have to. No, girl, you don't have to wait 2.5 years. No, it's 2.5 months. I'm sorry, because I'm thinking about December and then going into the next year. So, all right. So we're going into.
I had one other thing to add too.
Yeah.
In this work, I do find that, you know how when you're driving down the street and you're looking for a certain street, and just before you get to it, you go, you know what? We probably passed it. It's probably too far, and you turn around and you're just about to get there. I feel like a lot of clients, they ask questions that it's like they're almost there. It's about to happen, and they feel the energy. This is something that's going to happen.
Right.
They're like, why hasn't it happened yet?
Right.
So it's a matter of, it's okay. Just, give it a few minutes. I want to point that out. Sometimes, these things are actually just about to happen.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I totally agree with that 100%. So I've got another question from Marco. So let me post this up. I believe we know Marco. So his question is, do you have any advice for me regarding career tomorrow? I have another job interview.
Nice. All right. Thanks, Marco, for tuning in. It's great to see you on here. Okay, so tuning into that interview, I feel like you are very much at peace with what's going on right now. When I tune into your energy, it feels like you're very, inward, very balanced, and that you don't have a lot of expectations. So going into a job interview like tomorrow, you're going in there with this peace and balance. But what I feel like needs to happen is more of that kind of getting projected outward, meaning that show some of that, let some of that come out, let some of that confidence and who you are come out. Because I feel like when you do an interview like this, I feel like too much of you stays in here. And it's like, they want to see that. That's the gem right in there. So just let more of your personality out tomorrow. And I do feel like things are going to go really well for you.
So when I tune into this, I don't know what you're going to interview for tomorrow. But I will say this, I am seeing you working or doing work, obviously in some sort of facilitator capacity, because I think you're like a multifaceted individual. You can do like 17 different things at the same time, which is part of the problem because you do too much. But I think that you are a facilitator, so you can go into an environment and you can bring order to chaos. Sometimes people are going to like you for that. Sometimes people are not going to like you for that. They're going to think, well, who's this bitch? She's walking in here thinking she can run the show. And you tell them, my name is Marco, so that's what you need to do. But I think that I am seeing you in a facilitator-like role. What's interesting is if I were to take, and I don't know if you've seen Orange is the New Black, but on Orange is the New Black, there's a character named Red, and she's like the kitchen manager. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be a kitchen manager, but that's what I'm seeing. And interestingly enough, I'm taking that and then I'm sticking it with a hospital or a clinical organization. So I feel that there may be some medical or clinical organization that's associated with like this facilitator-like role that may even have some sort of a food theme, but it's not a restaurant. So there's this weird type thing there that I'm seeing. So that's what I see you doing, or that's the kind of work that I see you getting pulled into. This is not a life passion. This is your job. This is something that you're going to do just to pay the bills, just to support your passion, because I know you have other passions. But I think that this is going to support your passion. I also see a 2-year period for this. So I feel like you might do this work for about 2 years before you move on to another stage or something else. But like I said, I'm taking that Red character from Orange is the New Black and I'm mixing it with a hospital system, and I'm mixing that together. And that's what I'm seeing. Something in the realm of that I see you getting somehow pulled into or like plugged into at some point within a 2 to 3 month period. You might actually have more than one opportunity at the same time, because I also feel you're going to have at least 2 opportunities fall into your lap around the same period. So just be aware, be open, because I feel like there's a lot there that you might be able to plug into or to fit into as far as a job situation. And I think you do really well at it. And like I said, it's just right now, it's just experience. It's all about you preparing yourself for the next role that life is going to throw at you, which is more based on your passion at work versus what you currently do what you would do as a job. It's interesting that it's medical, because I almost feel there's kind of a health and wellness factor to it, or health and wellness vibe to it as well. So I would throw that in there as well. So, all right. So let's see. So we're got a couple. You have time for a few more questions?
Yep.
All right. So I'm gonna throw another one at you. So I've got one from Lily here, and Lily says, I had someone tell me I should be working with horses. A few minutes later, another person said you should be working with horses. Any ideas on how, knowing that I'm not a cowgirl?
So what actually imagine you doing is like grooming the horses and washing them, doing things where you're taking care of them, but it's more like maybe some leisure riding. You know, I do feel like you may be riding them, but it's more about being around them and touching them and grounding yourself. And I feel like it really calms you down. Yeah. You know, it makes you feel like kind of your meditation, and it reminds you of your wildness, because I feel like you're very hard on yourself, and that you tend to, you know, allows you to have.
I think I lost you for a second. Repeat that last two lines.
It allows you to have more freedom. You know, I feel like it's something that's going to bring out that part of you that wants to be wild, you know, and outside, and not have limitations. So it's gonna really draw on your ability to connect and ground with that earth energy and with the divine energy.
Yeah. So what I'm picking up on is I completely agree with you, because I think that you were right on the money there. I think that she needs to touch these horses. She needs to just touch the animals. What I'm seeing, you know, some of these like petting zoos, whenever they set up and they're at, like, you know, you have a rodeo or you have a little mini circus with the Ferris wheel and all that, and you've got these little ponies out there with the kids. That's what I'm seeing. So I think that in some form or fashion, you might end up doing this in some way where you're helping to maintain the horses. And you're also helping kids, because I'm seeing younger people involved in this somehow. I think that you might actually be sensitive, and you might be an animal communicator in some way or another. And you might be picking up on animal communication. And stay tuned in a couple of weeks, because I do have my friend who is an animal communicator coming on for an episode. But I think that you probably are picking up on some of those subtle messages from animals, particularly from horses. There may be some past life connection there, but I do think that I feel you're going to end up doing something that has to do with like younger people, like children, or a camp volunteering, or doing something at a summer camp, and you get to like work with these animals in that capacity. I don't see you like buying a ranch and living out in, you know, Timbuktu and like, you know, oh, look what I made, Paul, today. I made a horseshoe. You know, I don't see you doing that. I think that you're just going to end up working with these animals in some form or fashion, but it's very much around kids or around younger people.
You did that accent way too well.
I know. I know. I sit there in the mirror and I practice. I'm like, okay, Fernie, today we're going to do the Wild Wild West. And then I just sit there. So, no, but I think that you might actually have family members or people that you know who might somehow draw you into these activities. So I don't think you're gonna have to go looking for this. I think that these people who gave you this information, they're picking up on details, and they just didn't pick up on the circumstances around it, which is fine. That happens a lot with a lot of psychics. And we just pick up on the most important message, which is horses, ma'am. I said horses, you know. So I think that's what you need to just remember, is that there's going to be some horse-related stuff that comes up for you. You don't have to go looking for it. I think it's going to find you. So let's see. All right. So let's see. Where are we going next? Okay. So here. I've got another one here. So we've got Monique here. So Monique says, I feel like I'm stuck at my career point in life. Am I going to find a good career that I will be happy at and financially stable with?
Okay. All right. So first of all, I feel like, you know, you've only been using a very small part of your ability I feel like there's a lot of things you can do, a lot of things you're good at, a lot of things you enjoy, but I feel like you just kind of took the first thing that came or whatever was easiest at the time and kind of got stuck in that for a period of time. So at this point, you, I think, are becoming very aware that you have a lot more that you're capable of.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think what you're doing right now is opening yourself up to that, to manifest that. I feel like you're at a point where I think the road is going to rise to meet you. Honestly, I feel like the opportunities are going to come. So what's really important right now is for you to think about what it is that you want exactly, because you are going to be faced with some choices.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of the choices are going to be like hard to choose from. But I feel like, honestly, you're going to be doing something that maybe your own business, maybe doing things where you're in charge of it. And that's also something that's going to be probably down the road a little bit, because to even get to that point. But you're going to be a lot happier because you're going to use all of the things you're good at working for yourself.
Yeah, I think that you started off on a path, and you either maybe even got some skills in that area. It's a certain field. You got some skills in that area, and then you just kind of gave up, and you realized, like, screw this. I don't think it's going to work for me. And you just kind of stopped, and you didn't go further. And I feel like you didn't push yourself. One is, I think you were afraid of making a fool of yourself or failing, which is one thing. Another thing was, I don't think you were in the best environment when you were learning. So I don't think that you got the most out of your experience. So what I would say is revisit that, because you may simply need to make some changes with, like, who you were dealing with, what program you were under or utilizing at that point. And I think you didn't give yourself enough of a chance to succeed. I think you pulled out because it didn't seem like a sure thing for you. I do see you going back to something you started and then finishing that process, but I don't see, I feel like you're just going to jump from one job to another. And then once you do that, you're going to end up deciding, you know what, maybe I should just try this again. And then I see you going back to that. So to me, this might take a while, because I'm seeing like 2 to 3 years, and you might stall a little bit, but part of that may be because you're either having to reclaim some lost skills, you're having to get some certification, some more education, something like that. But I think that you are going to go back to something you started and finish it off properly, but just do it in a way that's going to benefit you, like, long term, and change maybe the school you went to was not that great, or maybe the program you were a part of just wasn't really the best fit for you. I think that's what's going to end. That's what I feel might end up happening with your career, with your future. And not everybody is going to be focused so much on their passion. Some people just go to work because they get joy out of that everyday, like, activity, like dealing with other people, doing something that they're very good at and skilled at. Some people like that. Some people don't have to have, and I know a lot of people who have their passion, and then they also have their job, and they have their job for a long time and their passion at the same time. And so you can have both. You can have a passion and you can have a job. And it's nice to have them both. It's nice. I mean, me and Ingrid, I think we're very lucky because we worked our butts off and we get to have our passion as our work, as our job. But, sometimes it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort, and you have to really approach these things not only from a practical perspective, but a perspective that's going to make sense with all of the other components in your life. So I have one more question, and then we will call it a wrap. So I've got Angie here, and Angie says, I thought I married my Prince Charming, but that ended in divorce. Is there a Prince Charming out there for me? Will I ever meet him?
Okay. So, Angie, thanks for tuning in and asking your question. One thing that I do feel right away is that the person you did end up with, your first Prince Charming, I feel like it was almost like training wheels, because I feel like there was so much that you needed to learn, and you learned on him. Because honestly, I feel like you have a little bit of a naive or idealistic outlook when it comes to relationships. Mm-hmm. And so what you're doing is looking at something that might not be the reality of it when you meet somebody or have a relationship. So I feel like it's really important right now for you to look back, to reflect on the things that you learned and what it is that you might do differently this time. Instead of hoping the guy will be different, I want you to think about what you will be doing differently, because you're going to bring your own patterns again to the same, you're going to bring the same stuff again. So
Right.
make sure that you're really thinking about that. The other thing is, I do feel like you are going to find somebody else, another Prince Charming. He's going to be more of a king, though. I really felt like this person is going to be a man and not a boy, and you're not going to have to, raise him. It's going to be somebody who already knows who he is. I also feel like it might not be for another year and a half that you meet him, and it's going to be a kind of a long engagement, that you guys see each other before, you don't just jump into it. But this person is going to be someone who actually takes care of you and adores you. And again, just make sure that you right now know how to go into a relationship where you're going to appreciate and love that person as much as they love you.
So, Angie, this is not the dark ages. We don't all get our princes. We get human beings. And I think that I personally feel that you have, and I agree 100% with Ingrid, you think that that person is supposed to be a Prince Charming. And unfortunately, I don't know a lot of people who ended up with Prince Charmings. I know a lot of people who ended up with Bubbas and Joes and even Dicks in some places. So, I mean, people end up with all kinds of personalities. So I think that and I 100% agree with Ingrid, your idea of love and what it's supposed to look like is off. And you need to reassess that because it's holding you back. I think that you're a very strong, independent, very, very, very intelligent person. And I think that you want to meet someone who is on par or beyond that. But at the same time, you're a very strong personality and you like to be in control. So there's some conflict there because you're wanting someone who's in charge and control and can run the show. But at the same time, you are naturally a born leader. So that's going to be a conflict of personalities there. And I had the extreme pleasure of ending up with someone who was also a Taurus because I'm a Taurus, and we butted heads. And we were like a day apart in birthday. We butted heads almost every time we came together. And it was just a mess. So I think that you need to be more realistic with the kind of personality that would benefit you. I do think that you need to be the leader in any relationship that you're in. I think that would just be best for you. But you need somebody who's going to work with you and who's willing to compromise and follow you along that path, but is also soft and gentle enough that they're going to allow you to be the shoulder that you need to lean on whenever you feel the need to lean on a shoulder. But you're a lot stronger. It's like I feel like I'm talking to like princess, like Queen Elizabeth, and she's the one, the longest reigning monarch in British history. And she was like, when am I going to meet the king that I'm supposed? I'm like, honey, you're the one that's in charge of the country. I don't know what you're asking for. So I think that you need to realize that you have a lot more control and power in your life, and you're going to be a natural born leader. So whoever you end up with, I think needs to be someone that is going to not so much cower, but they're submissive enough that they will follow your lead. I agree with her on the time frame. I'm also saying this might take about a year and a half. I do think though that you're going to get a hint of this person before that time, meaning that you might meet this person or may run into this person or somehow connect with this person before that time, but it may take a while before it develops into a relationship because you may not let them in right away. So you need to work on being more vulnerable and being more receptive to all kinds of personalities, not just to Prince Charming. Because, you listed there's 1,000 different types of guys and you listed one out of 1,000. And that's one that we read in storybooks and we don't really see those out in reality. So get a little more flexible and be a little more open because I think you might have more of an opportunity to connect with those who would be better fits for you. All right. So how do people get a hold of you, Ingrid? How do they find you? How do they know more about you?
So readingsbyingrid.com, just go in there. I have a lot of great articles, YouTube videos to help you, if you're looking to do psychic development for yourself, or if you want to basically do some guided meditations just for inner peace. So I've got a book out, The Psychic Way, ready here. But The Psychic Way is a workbook and it's on Amazon. It also is something that you can do at home. It's got the whole psychic development chapter by chapter, laying the foundation and things like that. So if anybody wants to just check out my book, go on Amazon. Otherwise, you can find me on readingsbyingrid.com.
And that's The Psychic Way by Ingrid say your last name for me. I always get tongue twisted when I say it.
Say that again. You cut out.
Oh, I said say your last name for me because I always get tongue twisted when I try to say your last name.
Sure. It's Turkish. It's Karazincir because the C is a G sound in Turkey. So it's like ginger, Karazincir.
Oh yeah, red. Well, guys, if you want to know more about my work, please check out my website at www.fernandomarone.com. You can book any service that you would like with me there. I offer all kinds of readings. If you'd like an e-reading or if you would like a video chat reading like what we're doing now, you can totally book that there. Also, go to my Facebook page. Just look me up. Just look me up on the face place. I was going to say the face place. Look me up on Facebook, Fernando Marone. And Ingrid is also on Facebook. And we are going to do a lot more projects together. I think we're going to start, we're starting a haunted series now because I agreed to do one and she's like, let's do more. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say no about it. So whatever. So I'm totally in for whatever happens. And if you guys have not checked out that video, we did go to the Lavaca County Jail a couple of weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah. It was. Yeah. So check that video out. It's pretty cool. I enjoyed it. And I know that Ingrid had a ton of fun. My sister loved it. She had a ton of fun. Yeah. So, well, guys, thank you so much for joining in. I am sending you all lots of love, many blessings. Please take care. And I will see you guys next time. Okay?
Thanks so much for having me on. Bye.
You're welcome.